everybody, welcome back to AMC. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for a really long time because the number one complaint that I hear about people getting into Thrones is that they have a lot of friends that they want to get, and they want to introduce their friends to the game, but their friends either haven't played an LCG or a CCG before, or they aren't gamers, and the entire process of deck building is very intimidating to these players. And that's really a barrier of entry. So luckily, I think the LCG model is obviously much more user and noob friendly than the CCG model. The barrier of entry for cost is gone, and especially with a new LCG, the barrier of entry of card pool is gone as well. But that still remains, deck building still remains an issue to those who haven't really played a card game before. So I wanted to do an episode like this for newer second edition players who this is their first LCG/CCG type game, as well as for experienced players that have friends that they want to get into the game but are too intimidated to try deck building. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about 7 plots that are pretty much a standard noob friendly plot deck, and we'll go over why each of them has their slot in this plot deck, and essentially if your friends are too scared or don't want to bother deck building or can't really figure out the best plots for the deck, this is going to be a pretty standard plot deck that should fit pretty much any entry-level deck in Game of Thrones. I don't think that you're going to take this plot deck to any sort of major tournament and make a splash with it, but it will certainly get by in casual play and you will win some games. So let's talk about it. Okay, the first plot that I included was intended to solve one of the problems that newer players have, and that is if they fall behind, they feel like they can't catch up. You know, let's say their opponent is sitting there with 5 or 6 characters on the board, they have 2 or 3, and they're looking at their plot deck, and they feel like there's not much they can do about it, and they sort of feel hopeless. So this plot is a plot that will help them come from behind, it'll give them a boost in economy, and it is tailor-made for situations where they are already behind, and it will help them catch up. And that plot is calling the banners. So when your opponent obviously has a ton of characters on the board, it is going to scale as, like, the further you are behind, the more it'll help you catch up. It's sort of going to help you balance the board. Worst case scenario, it's going to be worth 5 or 6 gold still, which is excellent. 6 initiative, they're going to be able to dictate the pace of that round by determining who goes first, most likely. So all around great beginner plot. Also with the 6 reserve, it's going to help them keep the majority of their hand. So we really like this plot for newer players. The next plot we want to talk about will also solve a problem that newer players tends to bum them out, is that they finally play these wonderful characters that they've been excited about. They've been hearing about it in the books and the TV show, and they finally have it on the board, and they get that awesome thematic feel, and then 2-claim military challenge happens, and they lose all those characters. So this plot also has the flexibility and versatility to protect their hand as well as the power on their house. And the best part is they don't have to choose how to use it until it's revealed. And of course that plot is Calm Over Westeros. So I think the number one most important thing in introducing new players to this game is to be gentle. And nothing says gentle like allowing them to keep their characters on the board for as long as possible. Excuse me. Additionally, Calm Over Westeros is going to allow, it's a plot that's going to grow with newer players in the sense that as they become more mature and as they start to understand the ebb and flow of a match better, they can use this plot in different ways. You know, like once they realize, oh, well, I don't need to prevent military claim this round. I really like the cards in my hand. You know, they can choose Intrigue Challenge as or Intrigue Claim as their option. And if they're about to close and they want to make sure that they don't lose any power, they can choose Power Challenge. So versatility is the key here. Very, very beginner friendly plot. Great economy as well. And again, high reserve with 6. Just a very, very flexible plot. So we like this for newer players. Along the same lines, for our third plot that we chose was there's nothing worse than when a player finally gets that 7-cost character out and their first player, and they finally see the folly of being first player when their Tywin gets milked before they even get a chance to collect the 2 gold. So this was a very easy choice, especially in a meta of 2nd edition where attachments are just so popular and so devastating. Our third plot that we chose confiscation. Again, with the 6 reserve, we want newer players to feel completely comfortable with the number of cards in their hand. We don't want them discarding for reserve because that's frustrating for everybody. Medium economy, but great initiative with 4 gold and 5 initiative, so we like that. But not only the flexibility of removing negative attachments from your characters, but being able to remove those super great positive attachments off of your opponent's characters, like your Seals of the Hand, your Widow's Wail, your Lightbringer, Nymeria, like the list goes on and on. Really point and click removal. It's not something that you have to really think about. It's very obvious, it's intuitive, there's not much thought, and it's just easy to understand. Again, great for newer players. So what happens when a newer player finally runs into that intrigue heavy deck and their hand is empty after 2 turns and their board is looking kind of bummer, or the variance hits them and they don't see that big Danny or the big Eddard or the big Mel or Rob in the first turn? That's going to happen probably 1 out of 4 games, and they're going to get frustrated. And we want them to be able to see those thematic cards, those Nedley cards, and just dig and see what else is in their deck. So of course, plot number 4 is Summons. An even better reserve on Summons with 7. Again, we love this plot. It can be saved for an emergency. It's very versatile, so you obviously don't have to go for a bomb. You can look for an economy character, like the reducers. You can look for a utility character. If you need draw, you can dig for somebody with insight. Essentially, it will allow you to toolbox out the type of character you need when you need it, and we really like that. Most plots in this game are around 4 gold. That seems to be the average. Obviously, there's some 5 gold plots. But the first time a player that is new to this game draws into their hand a character that costs 7 gold, I think they're going to be a little intimidated. How am I going to afford this? I have to spend literally my entire marshalling on a single character. And that can be both intimidating and confusing. So we wanted to make sure that no matter what happened, if they drew one of these 7-cost bomb characters, they would always have a way to play it instantly without needing to have drawn into any of their other economy locations. So for plot number 5, we chose Noble Cause. Not very good on the initiative, but as a 5 base gold. And again, Lords and Ladies are the fun characters. They're the characters that new players want to play with. They're the most exciting, they're reminding the player that's using it of the books and the show, and it really gets them into the Nedley aspect of the game and makes them feel happy. And that's what we want. So you're going to get 7 economy most times because newer players are going to include those Lords and Ladies in their deck because they're so much fun. And again, with 6 reserve, they're not going to have to be discarding anything there. So we like that. And because we can never ever have a deck for a new player that doesn't have some sort of board reset just in case calling the banners is not enough to get them back into the game, our 6th plot that we chose, Wildfire. As of right now, we only have 2 true resets in the game, being Wildfire and First Snow of Winter. And First Snow of Winter, while I think is an amazing reset, really not that intuitive for newer players. It may not be immediately obvious how best to use First Snow to get back into the game, whereas everybody ends the plot phase with 3 characters. Super easy to understand. I get it. I know exactly how to use the plot. Excuse me, right off the bat. 7 initiative is going to really let them choose the pace of the round, who's going to go first 99 times out of 100. Maybe not that quite so much, but you get the idea. 4 economy is not great, but not bad. And again, with the 6 reserve, perfect. That way, they're never out of the game with a reset. And we quibbled over the 7th slot for quite a while. I voted for Filthy Accusations. After a bunch of back and forth, we ultimately came to the conclusion that we never want a newer player to have an opportunity to remove an opponent's bomb off the board and not be able to take it. So because I would say at least 50% of games somehow end up with your opponent just having that Tywin or just having that Danny on the board, the slot number 7, the plot that everybody assumes you're going to have, may as well let them have it. March to the Wall. The 5 reserve is a little bit less than we wanted to see, but with the 8 initiative and 4 gold and the effect, it's just self-explanatory. Newer players, if they have an opportunity to get a Tywin or a Danny off the board, you got to let them have it. It's going to keep them coming back for more. So these are the 7 plots. If your friends are looking to get into this game and they don't want to deck build, or they're too scared to deck build, or if they're too lazy to deck build, give them this plot deck and a standard draw deck, and I guarantee you they will have some fun and they'll come back for more. Alright everybody, well, let me know what you think. Do you agree with my plots? Do you disagree with these plot choices? Is there anything else you would have included instead? Is there any that you definitely would not have included? I want to hear what you have to say. Leave me a comment below. But as always, thank you so much for watching AMC. I love you guys very much, and may you always claim your 15th power.